Welcome to Spotlight with Titilope. My name is Titilope Gbadamosi Adebayo. On Spotlight, we have one-on-one conversations with prominent people. My guest on the show today is Chief Oyebisi Ilaka, the Chief of Staff to Governor Seyi Makinde from 2019 to 2021. I've seen your CV, it's very rich. You are a tax consultant, a lawyer. What attracted you to politics? Why did you leave all of this practice in the UK to come to Nigeria to, do politics?
I've always been interested in politics. I was a member of the youth wing of NPP circa 1970, 1979. I had great mentors in that party, notably Mr. Paul Omungo, Chief MT Umbu. And I've always been fascinated with politics. I've been a member of Amnesty International since 1980, I would say. Been a member of the Labour Party in the UK since 1980. So the interest has been consistent and has been there all along. So participating in domestic politics in Nigeria, I think was just a follow-on from all these antecedents.
One of the first assignments that you had to do was to sack the chairman, Algon, the chairman who served under the former governor, the late governor, Abiola Ajimobi. And they went to court, the Supreme Court said, oh, that wasn't right, and now they have the verdict that their allowances and salaries should be paid. In retrospect, do you think that you shouldn't have done that?
You have to first and foremost understand that I was the chief of staff,
yes,
and I operate under the directions of the governor. So I think it's a happy outcome from all concerned, because the case and the matter has gone all the way to the Supreme Court, and so therefore the matter is settled. There's a precedent, there's a Supreme Court judgment in place. So the law is settled, there is no ambiguity, and that's good for our politics and that's good for the law. So I don't think there's anything that has to be said about it. Clarity has been provided where there was none. So we move on.
As the former chief of staff to Governor Seyi Makinde, how would you rate his performance in infrastructure, education, security?
Currently, as I speak to you, and I'm sure before the end of this year, 351 primary healthcare centers are being refurbished and equipped. That means
all over the state.
One in every single ward. 351. That is totally unprecedented. In terms of tertiary care, Lautech itself has got the teaching hospital there has received increased funding. Additional diagnostic centers have been provided in that institution. Emergency healthcare provisions have been provided there. If we talk about security, nationally, there's been a challenge in terms of security. Oyo State and the Southwest, in collaboration with the other Southwest governors, have found it fit to set up this Amotekun. I come from Oyo, whereby youth restlessness is pretty prevalent, just like all parts of the state. That's no longer the case. We can no longer even imagine the situation without the Amotekun, because they provided a homespun, locally grown security initiative, which is at the forefront of an integrated form of policing.
But are we feeling Amotekun? Are we feeling their activities? Do you not think crime is on the rise? So we had a robbery incident close to the government house, and the incident was one that maybe that got a lot of people apprehensive. Do you not think it shows that the security architecture of the state is not right, it's not correct, or could be improved upon?
Okay, first and foremost, right, you have to first understand that the major plank of security in this country is a federal, is designed by the federal government. The governor of the state, you might call him a chief security officer. Without this Amotekun and other voluntary sector activities, we don't really have much of a security.
Okay.
If you say we've had one incident in a period of over about 13, 14 years, and I'm sure that this particular kind of incident is something that probably operates in, say, a state like Lagos on a daily basis or weekly basis. So we have a proliferation of arms in this country. We have a proliferation of people who can use weaponry, right? Security challenges in the country, we've never had it this bad. So if we say we have a one-off situation, I do not regard that as an indictment on the security apparatus of the state. We can always do better because we want our environment to be secure. Because if we're looking for the desired investment in the state, security is important, and security of the lives and property of the people of the state is it's one of the first fundamental duties of any governor. And I think this governor, without fail, has discharged his responsibility in that manner. Great strides have been made in the area of security. You cannot use a one-off incident to indict an administration. If this was a regular and if it was repetitive, then you'll probably have an axe to grind with the administration. Okay. But this is not the case.
Okay. Well, you said if it was repetitive.
Yes.
I live in Oyo State. You live in Oyo State.
Yes.
We know that we've had quite a number of crime scenes. But if you were governor, what would you do differently about security?
Security is something that concerns each and every one of us. We all have to be vigilant. If we see something, say something. The security apparatus in the state, I don't think they've been equipped better than by any other administration. They've been equipped with fleets of cars so that their visibility is there for all to see. We also have, there's a satellite cameras in a number of locations to be able to notify the appropriate authorities. And the government has gone one step further by articulating an integrated plan whereby you would have local operators, vigilantes, and Motekun, all operating, even those who cannot arrest, but they can apprehend and hand them over to the appropriate authorities. Security nationwide, particularly in the Southwest, we've had our challenges, and I think this administration has been up and doing in respect of that. You see, if you say you designed a plan or a blueprint which requires multiple operators, i.e., the police force has, let's say the Nigerian police force, is not generally interested in local policing anyway. They're just there for presence and visibility only. And so we've developed our own home-spun solution to complement their efforts. And that is where Amotekun and the others in the sector have a part to play. I'm sure you'd have seen in the press, a lot of local government chairmen equipping the relevant voluntary operators and the police force in their particular areas. This is to complement not only the state government, but to also complement what the federal government has been doing. So all hands have been on deck in order to provide us a much more secure environment.
Okay, although you didn't particularly answer my question.
I told you there's an
integrated
blueprint.
If you were governor.
No, I think if it's not broke, why do you want to fix it? The current policy, which is integrated, which is all hands on deck, have multiple operators. You cannot do better than that. The only thing you can probably say if you want to do is maybe you add all kinds of drones doing security for you. But that again, you need national and federal government approval for you to run any drone in terms of surveillance or anything of the sort.
Okay, then you also did have a lot on security in the Southwest. Do you think the NSAS protest and all of that happened to fuel insecurity, particularly in Oyo State? Do you think the police are laid back after the NSAS incidents? Do you think they are not as up and above?
No, the police are not laid back. The police they're upset because they were a target and they think they shouldn't have been a target. Okay. And a lot of police stations were destroyed and vandalized, and some of their accommodations were damaged. So it is for us as a society to restore confidence in one another. Yes, they felt nobody came to their aid, and they were not the perpetrators. The perpetrators were the anti-robbery squad, which are not particularly localized in the various police stations that were destroyed. So there is, but I think we've come a long way from that environment of mutual distrust, and they've been, they're still venting. They're upset about the whole thing.
Okay, we are approaching the elections, and if the police feel some kind of way, if they're not happy, if they're not confident, and you say the government is doing a bit to bring them up, do you think that more should be done, particularly because we are approaching an election year?
The state are on our own level, right? You still have to understand that we operate partisan politics generally. Um, and we again have to build the confidence in our people so that people can have confidence that whatever um, security apparatus that the state is using, they will not be deemed partisan.
Sure.
That confidence building process is in the works.
Okay, let me take you back to education for a minute. One of the policies that the past administration put in place was the school governing board. Do you think that it's a right step for the school governing board to be back into the education system, something that was once removed?
No, look, the challenge in dismantling the school governing body boards at that point in time was to start off with students were being made to pay, I think, 1,000 naira per time.
Okay.
And there was no accountability, there was no transparency. And you're going to have any layer in terms of running any or supervising anything. You need accountability and transparency.
That's correct.
The schools that have demonstrated that they can run various boards and bodies have demonstrated that, okay, they will provide the requisite accountability and transparency. So once that accountability and transparency has been restored, because again, the school levy 1,000 per whatever still remains scrapped, and that policy alone, because you have to understand that Oyo State has the largest amount of all out-of-school children in the southwest. In the southwest. That policy alone has returned a lot of our children back to school. The fact that they do not have to pay that 1,000 naira. So they are not collecting any money. If they raise funds, then as a body themselves, they would have to account as to how they dispense that money. But the money that was being collected, nobody knew what was being done.
Welcome back. You are from Oyo.
Yes, I am.
How strong would you say your grassroots support is, considering that Oyo happens to be a stronghold of the APC? We have Honorable Akim, we have Senator Folarin. Those are the incumbent public office holders. How strong do you think your grassroots support is in Oyo?
You know, in as much as that the APC in the past excelled themselves in the area of rigging elections. But having said that, in the 4 local governments, in the last 2 elections, I've led all parties concerned. So, if you're talking about the 4 local government, when in 2015, when Senator Monsura Sumoni contested, she didn't beat me in any of the local government. In the last election, Teslim Polani also did not beat me in any of the local government in Oyo. So, if you say in terms of confidence, that's the facts we've got. In the last election, Teslim Polani was alluded to have come second to me across the board.
In the last election?
The last election.
But he's the incumbent.
The election is over 11 local governments. You asked about Oyo.
Okay. What about your base outside of Oyo, Oyo Central now?
Oyo Central, we have 11 local governments. Right?
Yes.
In the last election, it's claimed that Teslim Polari won by 7,000. We know what basically happened because there was incidents of overvoting, non-accreditation, wrong collation of figures. The whole election was riddled with irregularities.
Did you go to court?
Yes, we did. But you know, the court system and our electoral system, the way they're basically designed, they're designed not to allow you to basically win because you haven't got time to gather the information. But we did gather the information, so we know exactly what they did, and we're sure that, like, apart from the fact that our party is bigger, is stronger, and I won't even take a sideward glance at the disarray that's currently in the APC. But I know we're stronger than we were the last time. A lot of people that left the PDP to populate parties like the ADC, the ADP, I think who else did we have last time? I think those Zenith Labour, the last election, are all by and large back in the PDP. This is really fundamentally a PDP state. And this is demonstrated by the fact that whenever the APC or his predecessor parties have claimed to have won an election, they have not done so. They had never scored 35% of the votes. The majority of that 65% of that vote has been shared by parties that have their origin in the PDP. So the PDP is no longer splintered, and so therefore.
Are you talking Oyo Central or you're talking
I'm
generally?
talking about the Oyo State and Oyo Central.
Okay.
Each of the elections, there have been participants who, out of one issue in the PDP or the other, have left to contest on another platform, thereby splitting the votes. The chances of us splitting the votes is pretty remote this time. And again, we know that we have a duty to manage our election process a lot better, because those glitches, those omissions on our part, which we take full responsibility for, will surely never happen again.
Okay, you talked about disunity in the APC. How united is the PDP? On Facebook, on radio, we hear that, I don't want to call names, I don't want to mention names, but we know that some people are not with you and they may not be happy with the governor. So if you say that you don't even want to think about what's happening in the APC, they are not united, are you sure that your party, the PDP, is united, and that you are confident that going into the elections with people who have left, and these are not just people, these are grassroots mobilizers that have left your party, how confident are you that 2023 is given?
Yeah, okay, let's look at it this way, right? We are talking about two parties that have two distinct cultures, very, very distinct cultures. In the PDP, there'll always be strife. There'll always be strife, we'll always have arguments, we'll always have disagreement. But we've had a fundamental break since, I think, circa 2005. 2019, we stopped most of it together. There might be some small skirmishes here and there, but in the fullness of time, everything will come together. But that's kind of quite different from what, because for me, I don't really want to waste my breath on commenting on what is happening in the APC, because it's their own headache. It's got nothing to do with us. We'll plow our furrow. We'll do what we can do. So let everybody deal with their challenges. The taste of the pudding is in the eating, and everybody in the state is aware of what is the realities. If we want to act like ostriches and want to bury our heads in the sand and pretend as if we do not understand what the political realities in the state is, then good for us. But as far as I'm concerned, I'm a realist. I keep my eye on the ball, and I know exactly what's happening. Yes, there might be people who have issues or challenges, whatever, but that's normal in politics. We can't all sing from the same hymn sheet. There'll be discordant tunes from time to time, and that's the reality. That's life, and that's politics.
I agree with you 100%. You have said that in the fullness of time, parties who are not united might come together. That might also happen in the APC. You never know. But let me ask you, we have feelers that you are going to run in 2023. I would like you to look at me when answering this question.
Yeah.
We have feelers that you are going to run in 2023. What should we expect?
When you say feelers, I would have thought that the position has gone beyond the issue of feelers. I've made a public declaration that I have a settled intention to run on the platform of the PDP for the post of the senator representing Oyo Central in the election coming up in 2023. So I have a settled intention, and I've made that intention public, because you don't do politics in the recess of your room. It's public knowledge, and I've been going around speaking to people and engaging with a lot of people.
Okay, so this time around, you think if Senator Teslim Folani wants to go back to Oyo Central, you don't think it could be a problem?
He never was a problem in the first instance. And I don't want to say anything uncharitable about him, because I can't say a lot of uncharitable things. But I would refrain myself on this occasion, in the special circumstance, from saying anything uncharitable. But if he chooses to run, that's his own issues. I have a job to do, and I'll remain focused in gathering the most amount of votes. And also, and I say this, I want you to underline this, to secure that vote. All these hanky-panky will not happen again.
Let me ask you, sir. I agree that you don't want to say anything uncharitable about him, but do you think that he could do better?
Who?
Senator Teslim Folarin. Do you think there are things he should be doing? Do you
Look,
think
to me, the truth of the matter is that we haven't had the representation we deserve
in Oyo Central?
In Oyo Central.
Okay, so he's not a good representation.
I don't think so, and that's why I've come up against himself and other people who thrown their hats in the ring. I think the work of a senator requires certain kinds of skills, because your representation is for a particular kind of senatorial district. It's predominantly agrarian. We could do with a lot of employment, engaging our people, rendering better federal presence in the area. For example, the other time I was in Oyo town, when Akeson market got burned, the young people ran amok and they burnt up the fire station. The state government has replaced some of the fire equipment, but it's the real big fire service thing you've got in Oyo State is provided by the federal today. And there are various things that the federal government can do to complement the work of the state government. We haven't seen a lot of those dividends brought to bear for our people. So of course I think they can and they ought to do a lot better.
Your central senatorial district could have better representation. What would you be doing differently now that you have declared your intention to run for that particular office?
It's one thing at a time. First, I've got an election to win. Having won the election, and then my assignment will be cut and dry. In that, I would know that if I felt we were getting the representation that we deserve, I would be in the race, right? Because I would know I definitely cannot do better. But because I think I can do better, I know I can do better. I think I've got great interpersonal skills. I will interact with all the entities I'll have to interact with in order to get the best for our people. So I'm under no illusion that I'm a right fit for the job. I'm fit for the purpose, fit for the job of a senator in Oyo Central.
Thank you very much, sir. My last question. We know you are really close to the governor. In fact, you go to the government house to play tennis. What's the secret? People thought that by now you would, take a different direction, but you have stayed true to the friendship and relationship.
How can I put it? If you call somebody your friend and who's not an acquaintance, that relationship will have certain kind of fundamental ingredients. Those ingredients remain as such, and as a consequence of that, I choose to remain true to the friendship. And I expect and I do receive from time to time the same kind of understanding. I don't need to see him all the time, but the relationship is authentic. Yeah, so there isn't. On my part, I'll always be honest and truthful to him, and I expect nothing short of that from him. And I think we reciprocated in that manner. Look, if people think, I left the office of the chief of staff, the position itself it's time bound. It would end at some point, right? Just like most things. So it came to a full stop, and I'm otherwise engaged. So all is well.
All is well. Thank you very much for coming again. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you for staying with us today. We'll be bringing you more personalities, more talks, more eventful discussions, and they'll be very exciting and insightful.